2 years since its historic vote for equal marriage, how has the country changed for its LGBTQ population? Has the increased visibility brought about through the referendum made a difference, or do old prejudices still prevail? Throughout this series, we'll highlight the breadth and colour of our community, our successes and supports, our talents and trailblazers, and discuss what it's like to be LGBTQ in Ireland.
Hi, so my name is Lisa Connell and I work for GCN, Gay Community News. So GCN is the national gay press in Ireland, essentially. We are a monthly free magazine and we distribute all around the country. 60% of our distribution is in Dublin and the other 40 is around the country. GCN has been in existence since 1988, so 27 years so far. It was founded by the wonderful activist and all-round amazing person Tonie Walsh, among others. And it was in that time, it was obviously very different to what it is today, but very much a needed resource within the community.
And what was its aim when it was set up?
Essentially, Tonie and all the other a lot of the other community and also particularly activists, essentially were having no joy getting any media coverage for any of the many issues that the community were facing. And so essentially they understood that they had to basically do it themselves because the mainstream media wasn't paying any attention to gay issues. And so the group of people that initially started said, we need to write this stuff for ourselves.
And what has the evolution of GCN been like? Has it changed with the times? Has it needed to change with the times?
Yeah, I mean, well, just the very fact of it really, 27 years on, the world in general, but even in Irish society, is so different for gay people that I think we struggle to imagine what that felt like in the 80s. But it was a very real thing because people didn't know, because there was a lot of shame attached to being gay. And so people didn't know other gay people, or they only knew, depending on where you lived and how you socialized. So GCN was a really important visibility tool in the early days so that gay people, LGBT people, were able to see that there were other people like them. And also then, of course, there would be, this group is meeting here, or, because even the bars, let's say, there weren't, fixed gay spaces. So the GCN always played that role of telling people where other people were, which was very important because, it's fair to say that Ireland was a pretty homophobic place when GCN first arrived.
Is it hard to find the balance between representing the political and providing entertainment at the same time?
I don't think so. I think we're very clear on our remit around that, and of course all of the political stuff is incredibly important, and the entertainment stuff, of course, is, because we also want the magazine to be fun for people to read and to be of interest. So, but I do think we strike a pretty good balance. I mean, we very much would, around all the stuff like the referendum and gender recognition, Section 37, all of the things, and particularly over the years, all of the things, because not to sound, funny about it, but GCN was talking about that stuff before any mainstream media really cared or paid much attention, and so we're kind of the long-standing publication to deal with those issues. So of course we have a very strong kind of duty-bound feeling connected to that. I mean, one thing I would say is that, we're in an interesting time in the community as well, because we are arguably, I mean, discrimination isn't just over with, legislation passing, but, a lot of the major fights are won. And so the next step for the community is also going to be an interesting next step for us. Do we get to be more frivolous and kind of have more silly things, or and of course, and it's always striking that balance. But no, I think we try to honour it as much as we can. So, for example, we're not putting Kylie on the cover when marriage is an issue, you know, so that those decisions get made around what makes sense for and also for what the community cares about in any given moment.
And how do things stand now for GCN? Like, I know there was a Save GCN campaign. Are things balancing out now?
We're incredibly lucky because we have an immense amount of support from the community, and so yes, when a couple of years ago we really were in a bad space, and we launched a GCN Forever campaign, and really it was a very heartening experience because we were asking people to help us save GCN, and quite honestly, we were afraid that they would say we don't want to. Thankfully, that wasn't the case, and people, of course, were amazing, and of course that also led us to branch out and do different things. We do event stuff as well. So, you know, it was kind of a moment of diversify or die, and we chose to diversify, thankfully. But absolutely, the reason we are still here is because our readers have been unbelievably supportive. We're holding our own, but we also, of course, having a view of what's next and how to best be on that. But that's all a really exciting conversation because it's all very much for the taking, I hope.
That's brilliant. Thanks very much, Lisa, for your time, and thanks for the interview.
Yeah.
John McGlinchey. I play with the Dublin Devils for about 5 or 6 years now. We are a gay and inclusive football team here in Dublin on the gay scene. We've been running for about 10 years now. This is our 10th year. So we've a membership of about 40 to 50 players. Some here for competitive football, some are more for just sort of social football or just kickabouts. Or just a bit of socialising themselves.
And do you know who founded it and what was the reason?
So the club was originally set up by a guy named Mark O'Donovan. He had returned from the UK, and while there were a number of teams over there, he found that there was none here on the scene. So he placed an ad in the GCN just looking for a group of lads to play a game of football with, and the club quickly grew from there. 7 guys out in Tala.
So you could tell us about some of the championships, any of the leagues you've competed in?
Well, since the club was founded, we've regularly competed in championships or leagues. We tend to travel to gay tournaments. It started off the first year of our existence. We took part in a tournament in Manchester, I think, and did quite well there. And it was really after that tournament that the club itself was formed as a club. We also compete here in the Leinster Football League, which is an 11-a-side straight league. And we have a team that plays in that on Saturdays, and we also compete usually 6-a-side Astro League.
So you do compete with straight teams as well as gay?
Yeah, I mean, we're the only gay team in Ireland, so it's really our only option for competing here.
And are you treated differently by the straight teams? Is there ever uncomfortableness, or are you kind of known as the gay team?
Some teams know that we're a gay team and some don't, so at the moment our kits are sponsored by the George, so usually when we show up on the pitch they figure it out quickly enough. But it's not usually an issue. Sometimes in the heat of a game there might be a few insults hurled or that, but most teams are actually pretty respectful.
What about homophobia in football in general? Like the FA are doing the football versus homophobia thing. Do you think homophobia is a big thing in football?
Yeah, homophobia in football can be a bit of an issue. I think in the top leagues, such as the Premier League, the Championship, it still can be an issue with fans. You know, there's obviously the situation of Brighton being a gay town, and their local football team tend to get a lot of stick from away supporters.
Can you ever see a Premier League footballer coming out?
I would hope that sooner or later, a top Premier League or even somebody from the other top leagues would come out. We have the cases of, say, Thomas Hitzelsberger, for example, who came out after he retired, and other players like Robbie Rogers, who hit the spotlight after they came out. So I think it shows that there is a lot of acceptance there for them, and hopefully that would encourage, if there are any gay players in the top leagues, for them to come out.
My name's Paul. I play with the Dublin Devils.
Paul, can you tell us how long you've played with the Dublin Devils?
I've played with the Devils about 7 or 8 years now.
And why did you want to join them?
I wanted to join them because I wanted to expand my social circle in Dublin. I love football, but I didn't know that many gay people, and I wanted to get them to know gay people in a natural kind of environment, so it seemed to fit.
And how do you think the team is treated by other straight teams?
Other straight teams largely don't either know or pay any attention, and if they do know, there's no difference. As soon as we start playing football, they don't think twice.
Is there ever an uncomfortableness for the Devils going into this situation where you're going to compete with straight teams?
No, absolutely not. I've never experienced any situation where we've had abuse, we've had issues. Like the odd time you might get someone said something smart, but it's more likely a teammate will tell them to shut up, or else you just end up kicking them on the pitch, and it's okay. Yeah.
And do you think people would join this team because they would feel more comfortable being around other gay players rather than being in a mixed team, so to speak?
For sure, a lot of people growing up would have been members of teams in their hometowns or local communities, and wouldn't necessarily have enjoyed it, felt as comfortable as they would in this kind of environment. As scary it is in the first day coming here, it's still well worth it. But most teams are grand and absolutely okay, and some of the lads still play with their home teams. But it's definitely, you can feel more relaxed and more at ease here, for sure.
And do you think that might be a thing with sport in general? Like, do you think it might frighten some gay people away from team sports because of how they might be treated because of their sexuality?
Absolutely. In terms of professional level, I think the bigger problem is fans and managers. Teammates, I don't think really care anymore, but fans will pick on anything in a crowd. So, as it's a crowd mentality, so people say things that would never normally say. And managers tend to be older and older school as well, so that could pose a problem at the professional level, for sure.
And so, what next for the Dublin Devils? For you personally?
For me, trying to attend more sessions and actually get fit again. It's very easy to drop off, life takes over sometimes, but I definitely plan on playing more, keeping fit, and just getting to know all the new arrivals.
My name is Jack O'Rourke. I'm a musician and a songwriter. Some people call me baroque and roll, alt folk, blues rock, depending on my mood, I suppose.
And what would be like your creative process?
I like the whole process of collaboration, I suppose, is fairly universal, but yeah, I write on my own generally, and then I bring great people in to help me out with rhythms and grooves. And
music-wise, like what's been your highlight so far?
In my own career, I think probably having Silence, one of my songs, used by Amnesty for the referendum. That was great. It was a great honour.
Do you return to certain themes
in my lyrics? I suppose I do. You know, the big three. You know, heartbreak and death and despair. No, I don't know. Whatever mood I'm in, I suppose. Whatever. When the muse happens to visit, you know, it could be something really happy and joyful, or it could be just, you know, it could be a cathartic thing where you're working something out.
And do you address your sexuality in your music?
I do. I don't think consciously, because I think that defeats the purpose often. I think hopefully we're moving into a society where labels are, you know, they're obviously important, but I think when I was young, when we were all young, you know, growing up, it was a big deal, and it is still a huge deal for everyone who needs to come out. But hopefully we're getting to a place when it's an assumption that some people are straight, some people are gay, some people are bi, tri, whatever, you know, pan.
Is there ever like kind of a niggling fear that, you know, your sexuality might alienate part of your audience?
It hasn't for me yet. I've been lucky, but I think with silence, I can only speak from personal experience. I think because I wasn't purposely trying to be provocative, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But it was just a very honest story about how I had asked Santa for a kitchen, which is probably nothing to do with sexuality, but it was one of the first moments, other people's reaction to me getting that when I was 4 from Santa. And I suppose realising, I'm a bit different, a small bit different than the other boys. You know, I still played football and hurling, but I suppose I was a bit more comfortable with my, other side than other lads, and some lads found that hard to take.
Is it a problem for gay musicians that they could be pigeonholed?
I've heard Rufus Wainwright saying that it has affected his career commercially. But again, it's a spectrum for everyone. I don't like using the word camp, but a lot of people say to me, I didn't know you were gay. That's what a waste, and they mean it as a compliment, which is kind of weird. But I kind of know what they're getting at. That or I hate terms like straight acting and stuff like that, but it hasn't affected me yet. In fact, when Silence came out, a lot of people who were on the other side got in touch with me and said that because it was such a personal song and it was such an honest song, that it made them think, it wasn't a case of us and them. I suppose it allowed people to empathise a bit more, which is very important, I think.
And could you just talk a bit more about when it was selected for the referendum? How did that hit you, or how did that affect you?
It was great. I think we've come to a stage now where most people don't care really. It's not they don't care, they're proud of you when you take that leap of faith. And people like to know who you are, I think, and people downplay sexuality, but it's obviously a huge part of who you are.
And just to finish off now, what's next? What do you hope to achieve?
Without sounding kind of pretentious, I suppose the truth, just keep writing truthful songs that affect people, There's lots of fads and trends in music that come and go. But I think if you're true to yourself, you don't really worry about what's cool or what's in vogue at the moment musically, and you just follow the muse. But more festivals and more albums, and hopefully an opera at some stage as well.
Thanks very much for your time.
Problem. Thank you.
Still hoping high above this world is weary wife. You'll turn my head and we like eyes. The earth will shake, red suns will rise. I'll let you in the muddy skies and on the other side of now. Oh, 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 oh. Been carousing in a Saturday cacophony. Same old crowd, same old pent-up disappointments vented loud till you're almost proud. I spy clearing, I've been steering past this world and its bitter wife. We're talking exes, just exhale. When you smile, it's off the scale. Got your number on the other side of now. Oh, 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 the other side of now. Oh, 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 oh. Weekends just blend into the blue to me and you. Heaven's just that weekend overdue. Gonna love you up to the sky and back down to the ground on the other side of now, the other side of now. Oh, 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 the other side of now. Oh, 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 the other side of now. Side of now, oh, the other side of now, oh. busting heads in pits of hell. The fear, the smell, duvets collapsing like a souffle tales to tell, trapped inside a shell. Shame on me, shame on the world, shame on his wife. I'm bleary-eyed, but underneath you're set in stone. I got a hunch it'll feel like home. I'm laying you down here on the other side of now.